Hey, everybody in our audience, thank you for waiting through today's hold music while we got ready to start. Welcome, everybody in our audience, to today's webcast, How Comcast Creates a Single View of Customers with NoSQL. Today's webcast is sponsored by Couchbase and brought to you by adtmag.com. I'm Chris Flack, and I'm here to be your host for today's event, so thank you all for joining. Now, just a few quick things before we get all the fun started. So just a couple quick reminders. First things first is today's webcast is being recorded for future viewing and listening purposes. In about 24 hours after the show, we'll send you a link in an email, where you can find the replay. We encourage you to share that with coworkers, colleagues, and friends, anybody who may be interested on today's topic. We would appreciate that. There is also a little paper airplane icon down there in the dock of your screen. Please feel free to use that paper airplane icon. It'll send an email to a coworker right now, and they can come join you in the console and listen to today's program. So if at any point you feel compelled to use that feature, please feel free to do so. Our webcast will also feature a Q&A session at the end of the call. We do encourage you, however, if you have a question at any point for our presenters, to please enter your question via the Ask a Question box, which appears on the bottom left-hand side of your console. Hopefully, if time permits, we'll get to everybody's questions and we'll get out some answers. Joining us for today's webcast, we have two really great presenters. So I'll try to take up a little time here. A little bit later on, you're going to hear from Scott Carney. Scott is the Director of Software Development over at Comcast. He's going to be on a little bit to show you about his relationship that he has with Couchbase and how Comcast is working with them. Also today, we're going to be joined by Ali Leclerc. She is the Senior Product Marketing Manager over at Couchbase. She's going to come on for a little bit, just discuss what Couchbase is offering, what they're a little bit about, give some background information. So without any further ado, I will hand the presentation over to my good friend Ali to get started. So please take the floor and get your presentation going.
Great, thanks a ton, appreciate it, and welcome everybody. Super excited to talk to you all today about the Comcast use case and what Couchbase is. So let's just go ahead and dive right in here. So you may have seen the statistic that about 52% of the S&P 500 have disappeared in the last 15 years. That's a lot of churn, and the most interesting part of that, the reason that's happening is because of customers. It's not really about pricing or products or competition. It's about customers, and it's about customers influencing customers. That's the most powerful force disrupting business today. And it's driven by this digital transformation. It's really the key to success, but we have a problem because according to a CIO survey we conducted, about 90% of digital transformation projects fail or are failing today, not meeting the business case that justified that project in the first place. And behind that failure rate sits another interesting statistic, and that's a large part of the problem is what happens to the data that underpins everything you're trying to achieve for your business. Because what makes you stand out as a business is when you deliver something better than everyone can as a result of using data intelligently. So here's why that's a problem today. Your legacy infrastructure is focused on one part of the user journey, the last part, the part where it becomes a purchase or a video to be played or a flight to be booked. We've built those systems to house that data, and those are called systems of record. And today your database environment is largely based, most likely, on your investment in that area. But now the majority of activity is seen before even getting to that transaction. So there are vast numbers of interactions and associated experiences that shape a customer's view of an organization or an employee's ability to do their job, and they occur across multiple touch points. We look a lot more before we book, or we browse a lot more before we buy. So when users spend more time interacting than transacting, well, then every interaction and experience they have with your company counts. 1,000 interactions to drive a single transaction. It's those many interactions that will eventually drive that single transaction. So what we're arguing is that old world systems aren't going to support this successfully. To be more specific, we need to think in terms of systems of engagement. If you're not familiar with the term, think of systems of engagement as the technology adopted by a company to help facilitate and orchestrate that user journey through more personalized, seamless interactions across multiple touch points. It's this idea of a system that can capture data from multiple and varied sources and bring it into one platform. So this is what we've built here at Couchbase, and we call this the engagement database. It's designed to support the engagements or the interactions happening at all these touch points at any given point, and all of the massive amounts of data being generated. And it's powered by NoSQL technology. So just quickly, Couchbase at a glance, who we are. We were created in 2011, and we're the world's leading NoSQL document database and key value store for mission-critical applications. And we architected Couchbase for the enterprise is built on open source foundation. You can see a few of our customers here. So going back to the engagement database, why an engagement database? So it coexists with two other databases that most likely exist within your ecosystem today. Transactional databases exist for a reason. They need to provide that ongoing permanent record of what's occurred, but they're inflexible, they're rigid, and they can be really expensive. Analytical databases are also really important. They provide those insights, power data lakes, and a ton more, but they're not fast, like millisecond fast. And because they're not fast, and you can't service your customers because your customers most likely want data in real time. So these are the attributes that make up an engagement database. First and foremost, it has to be built for any type of cloud. For Couchbase, all functionality is available across physical, virtualized, public cloud containers, as well as our Couchbase managed service environment. It has to be seamlessly mobile, so data has to be available at the point of interaction, and because we're using our mobile devices so much more than ever before. So Couchbase is a single platform that includes built-in mobile and sync technology, so you don't have to worry about managing point solutions to solve your mobile data concerns. It has to be agile and smart. We have a really flexible JSON data model that enables on-the-fly schema change for continuous delivery, and we have also extended SQL to JSON for both query and analytics. It has to be built for scale. That's a given. As your user demand spikes, your database needs to support that. Couchbase is architected as a scale-out distributed database across, as I mentioned, physical, virtualized containers, and public cloud environments. It has to always be on and always fast. Couchbase is a memory-first architecture with an integrated document and cache, so performance is blazing. And finally, it has to be secure because a lot of customer data is sitting in these databases. So with Couchbase, you get full-stack security from device to cloud. So these are the pillars on which the engagement database needs to be built, and this is what we have built at Couchbase. So this is a Couchbase Data Platform. It's one system to support the massively interactive enterprise based on the power of Couchbase Server, which is our NoSQL database server. This full platform addresses many of the needs of today's digital businesses. You'll hear more from Comcast about what that really means specifically. But you can access data via key value, query, and search. Like I mentioned, we have a full-fledged mobile solution. We have analytics built right into the platform. All of these things behind one unified programming interface, making it really easy for IT teams to take advantage of all the offerings here. You can scale out elastically to support user demand. Like I mentioned, our memory-first architecture enables that sub-millisecond blazing fast performance for your applications. You can deploy in the cloud, you can containerize depending on your needs, and you can still talk to other databases, those analytical databases, those transactional databases with our integrations, SQL, big data integrations. So this is the Couchbase Data Platform at a high level. So turning our focus towards the topic of today's webinar, building a single view Customer 360 solution. So the idea of delivering a data solution that solves for the Customer 360, or in other words, a single view or a single customer view, well, that can be challenging. And that's because capturing all of your customer interactions to build a single view of that customer is challenging, especially with legacy technologies. Going through these, first of which is partial customer views. If you only have access to a subset of customer activity and data, then you cannot deliver a consistent, personalized experience across all channels and devices. And typically, legacy IT systems only give us a partial view of customers. Next is siloed data. So managing data in disparate systems makes it really difficult to access and integrate data. And as data sets emerge from increasingly varied sources and grow larger, capturing and storing that data in multiple locations becomes even more challenging. And then last, you have fast-changing customer expectations, which shouldn't be a surprise to anybody. These new technologies are leading to fast-changing customer expectations, which means new unstructured types of data are being generated on the fly and have to be both captured and added into existing business and data models. So how do we solve for these challenges? Well, this is where the Couchbase Data Platform comes in. First is omnichannel customer views. So capture the data involved in each of those digital interactions across every channel, which will help you deliver a really accurate real-time view of your customer. And I'll show you what that might look like in a few slides. Next is the ability to integrate data from multiple sources. No more siloed data, whether it's from a CRM, a user profile, a mobile application, or an e-commerce platform, just a few examples. We have this very flexible JSON storage. coupled with a declarative query language, full-text search, adaptive indexing, and seamless mobile sync, which allows you to easily integrate all of those data sources to both capture and manage all of your customer data. And last, of course, a seamless customer experience all at scale. So you can capture and consolidate all that customer data across all interactions in real time and serve up customer data to customer-facing employees at the point of interaction to provide both immediate and very personalized experiences. You can streamline configuration to easily add new customer touchpoints and scale Couchbase in real time to meet user demand. Okay, so this is all great, but what you might be asking is how is this applied in the real world? So let's just go one level deeper here. If you were to look at an example of how to build a customer 360 solution with Couchbase, this is what a typical architecture might look like. So there's a good amount going on here, but what I'm trying to do here is show the various components of a C360 solution and how all of those might work together. So let's just start at the center where you'll see the Couchbase Data Platform. That's, of course, our NoSQL database. This includes all of our scalable services, key value, analytics, NICL. You can see the list. Now, in the case of C360, we have external data sources that Couchbase is pulling data from and aggregating to complete that 360 view. And some of that data in Couchbase may also be getting moved into your downstream systems, like your enterprise data warehouse, for example. So back to your 360 platform, you'll most likely be collecting data like session data, interaction history, user data, recommendations. All this data is stored in Couchbase. And you probably have a microservices component with your login engine, for example, or your profile data, or your order history, things like this. Moving out to the web tier, this is where you'll see your apps reside, both your internally facing apps, like operational analytics, your call center, et cetera, and your consumer apps, like your web page. And that tier sits Couchbase Sync Gateway, which is our internet-facing web component that securely syncs data from your data center to the edge. And then, of course, you have your users accessing and using apps via mobile or via browser. And I'll quickly call out Couchbase Lite, which is our embedded database that's built for the device and manages all that data locally on the edge. So going back to mainframe, one thing I want to specifically call out is this idea of mainframe offload, something we see our customers leveraging Couchbase for quite a bit. Of course, mainframes are still widely used, but with Couchbase, you can offload workloads from a back-end mainframe, which, as you can imagine, may be hugely beneficial. Reduce MIPS costs, adding new services is easier and less expensive, just to name a few of those reasons. So before we jump over to Scott and the Comcast use case, I just wanted to quickly talk to you about two other customers that are leveraging Couchbase in a big way, specifically around building a single customer view, the first of which is United. Of course, many of you know, the world's third largest airline, 4,500 daily departures. They were facing a lot of challenges around building a crew management platform that would give all their crew, both pilots, flight attendants, and gate agents, a single view of what was going on a plane at any given time, everything from passengers to meal preferences and more. So Couchbase, they were able to enable all of their schedulers, all their pilots, all their crew to quickly query and resolve any issues going on the plane. Of course, the support for our highly mobile workforce. They highly leverage our cross-data center replication out of the box. And of course, cloud enabled, so both running in AWS and Azure. Next is PayPal. So PayPal was facing issues around delivering real-time reports and visualizations of all of their user interaction data. Data silos were a big issue for them, managing data from different sources. With Couchbase, they were able to pull all of that data from disparate sources into one platform to create that holistic view of their users at any given point in real time. So with that, I'm going to pass it over to Scott, who I know you all have been eagerly awaiting to hear from, to talk more about the Comcast use case and how they are building a single view of their customer with Couchbase. Scott, I'll pass it over to you.
Okay, thank you, Allie. And thank you, Chris, for the nice introduction at the start here. So good day, everybody. My name is Scott Carney, and I'm from Comcast. And it's a pleasure being here to spend an exciting session with all of you. And it's certainly wonderful to see this theme of striving for positive customer experiences, because this fits in perfectly with what we're doing here at Comcast today. So prior to Comcast, I had been in healthcare IT for the bulk of my career. I was focused on building applications to support the doctors and nurses and treating patients in a hospital. And we had a focus on quality and a positive user experience, since ordering medications for patients is a serious life or death situation. We had doctors, nurses, pharmacists as members of our Scrum teams working side by side with our DevOps teams to build solutions to meet their needs. So 3 years ago, I came to Comcast at the request of a close friend of mine who explained how Comcast was investing heavily in enhancing their world to improve the customer experience in all facets of the company. He actually called it a transformation, and he felt bringing my passion for customer service to Comcast would be a good fit. And I've truly enjoyed my experiences so far and excited to speak to you today about one of the important applications that we have built using Couchbase that is helping with the Comcast journey and the commitment to a positive customer experience. So early in my time at Comcast, I drove an effort to have myself and all of my teams go out into the world of Comcast and visit the people on the front lines that were using our applications and our services. You see, I've been a Comcast customer for many, many years and have had experience from the customer side of the table. So now I wanted myself and my teams to see and understand how Comcast personnel were using the tools and the applications that my team was responsible for. So to understand our internal customers and to get sort of an evaluation of how we were doing, we needed to walk in our customers' shoes. So we went out and we visited the customer call centers that are around the country. We visited warehouses and inventory centers. We spoke with the techs who load up their vans each day to head to the residential and business locations. We visited the teams where the devices are tested prior to distribution. We visited the new Xfinity stores that are popping up all over the country. So we experienced their world and the challenges that they face. And this gave us insight to help improve their experience. So from our call center trips and speaking with our field technicians, it was clear that we have many people in various roles and in various settings working tirelessly to achieve the highest customer satisfaction possible. So all of these boxes on this slide represent the different customer notes and in the different systems and locations that they existed. So there were many different types of customer notes that were being created in different tools and different applications that were being used by our technicians and service representatives. So one thing we really noticed is that all of these folks are having very important customer conversations. And it was clear that we needed help from them, that we needed to help them to capture better notes from each of these conversations. So this will ensure that Comcast is documenting what we have learned. For example, someone calls with a billing question, and the Comcast support representative that I was sitting with would have to access a variety of notes captured in different legacy systems. And I saw a good number of mouse clicks in a few different applications to get all the information that they needed to understand the situation. So these notes I saw were in varying formats, and some of them had different types of limitations. So I noticed that this resulted in extended time for someone to find what they needed to help the customer. And this was certainly not the customer experience that you or anyone wants to deal with. So the theme was that they needed a more consistent, streamlined, and robust approach to customer notes. So we needed a unification point to simplify all of this. And this is where Couchbase comes in. So we partnered with other Comcast teams who were building out our centralized support tool that we call Einstein 360. And this is being used for all of our customer service reps across the country. So we proposed the unified notes component to pull all of these customer notes together into a single unified view using Couchbase. This way, there's a single entry into all the information captured across all of the touch points that our Comcast personnel are having with our customers. So the business problem that we're solving using Couchbase is to consolidate and simplify the customer note capturing and viewing workflows. And we needed to ensure an open architecture which enables consistent user experience. We needed to reduce the time needed to see all the notes, a faster user experience for our folks on the front lines. And we needed to enable a searching and advanced selection capabilities to help pull the specific information needed, when it's needed, and in the location that it's needed. All to help find the information required and to help our users get the information they needed quickly. So essentially, we needed a way to transform the customer note process, get everyone excited about it so that they would embrace the change. We needed to ensure that we chose the right technology, which would enable an easy transition for all of Comcast, and it needed to provide an immediate value, and we didn't want to spend a lot of time with a lot of training and explaining. It just needed to be easy and simple to use. So how do we build this common platform to unify customer notes across many roles and workflows and make tens of thousands of Comcast team members happy? That was the problem that we were facing. So we built a unified notes solution leveraging the strengths of Couchbase to deliver on these key requirements. A single source of notes, a flexible platform, adaptable to business requirements. We needed to remove limitations and add unlimited capacity. We needed to develop aggregation capabilities. And we also needed to supply some additional unique requirements which came up during the initial phase of the project. So where are we at? We deployed into production in September 2016, and we started with our residential support team. We've been bringing on various lines of Comcast business on board, and we have a few more coming now into our queue. We have a solution that works across residential, business, and retail environments, all a single solution. And I'd like to highlight that we've seen several new customer note types requested, and we had to quickly implement those, and we were able to due to Couchbase's flexibility. So one of the more recent opportunities we saw was to develop a location-based note. So this was a use case where our field technicians requested to improve their ability to service our customers, especially with our growth providing technology solutions for our businesses. So we enhanced unified notes using Couchbase to save and retrieve notes based on a location ID. So this helps the field technicians to quickly see any of the notes saved for the location where they're at. So technical engineers are excited to be able to have this aggregated information available to them, because this empowered them to have a full 360-degree view of all that is going on at a location, be it a business or residential. So a technician can review notes about a specific location, and they can become better prepared for the customer visit. This enabled them to show up and work on the new install or the problem resolution more quickly and more efficiently. So this is just a real-life example to show, what we've been able to develop for Comcast using Couchbase and resulting in our Comcast team members being in a better situation to serve our customers. So how did we even get to the point of choosing Couchbase to begin with? So this was something where we went and we actually did our proof of concept, and we did some side-by-side evaluations. So at a high level, we started with the business problem and the high-level requirements that we reviewed earlier. And it felt to be a case for using a NoSQL solution due to the use cases and some of the flexibility and growth that we expected. So why Couchbase? So again, out of these side-by-side comparisons, we built out actual proof of concepts, and then with the help of our intended user community, we developed tests which we felt represented the usage patterns that we would face day to day. So we certainly expected the same type of repeated patterns to be performed in large volumes. For example, create a note, view all notes. So once we evaluated the side-by-side solutions, then we took a journey throughout Comcast to see what other groups were doing in the NoSQL area and found that others had chosen Couchbase also. Our internal IT support organization was also ready to provide a layer of support for Couchbase. So in the end, we chose Couchbase, which was a proven technology at Comcast, and we have never looked back. So here's a high-level snapshot of our configuration. Our growth increases steadily every single day. We have well over 217 million customer notes stored since our launch. We monitor our RAM quota and disk space usage as part of our capacity planning. We invest each year in a growth analysis and add what is needed to keep our growth smooth and our resiliency high. Currently, we're increasing our capacity levels as we prepare for 2019 and the continued growth of this solution. So here is a picture of our current active cloud-based architecture that we have in place with Couchbase. As you can see, we leverage 3 data centers in 3 different states, and we're using cross-data center replication. Now, in full transparency, and to be honest, we had some growing and learning experiences, specifically with some of the cloud deployments, network zones, and nickel. We do have additional monitoring that includes cluster membership, XDCR replication status, monitoring lag, etc., to make sure that our nodes counts are consistent between the data centers. We use nickel extensively in our application, and we also leverage memory-optimized indexes. We're using physical servers for the index and query nodes, and I've also done some recent memory upgrades as well. And since retrieval speed is incredibly important for our users, our data nodes are added within the cluster. So now to show you how we went through an upgrade a little while back where we upgraded to 4.6.3. The team designed an approach leveraging a bidirectional XDCR setup to achieve a zero downtime goal, which was what our goal was, since our customer nodes needed to be available 24/7 by 365. So we stood up a new upgraded Couchbase cluster, again leveraged XDCR to sync up the data, scaled over the applications, and then after the upgrade was complete, right, and XDCR was up to date, we removed the older cluster and then deprecated it. So it was a very successful migration. Again, customer base was extremely happy with the results. So just to give you a higher level picture of our environment, we are a full DevOps shop, so we feel it's important to show everything that we do and the tools that we're using. As I mentioned earlier, we run 24/7 by 365, so we have extensive monitoring in place for all of our services. We're almost 100% automated with all of our testing, so we have a robust pipeline in place for all of our code deployments. So quickly walking through the flow, we use GitHub for our source code management, Parasol for our automated testing scripts. GoCD is our continuous integration, continuous delivery server. We use Sonar for code quality and code coverage reporting. We deploy into a Pivotal Cloud Foundry environment. We leverage Kibana for logging and metrics. We utilize AppDynamics for monitoring and alerting. ALM is used for tracking defects. And since we are an agile environment, we use Rally as our agile tool, and we run 2-week sprints. So that's our DevOps environment. So let's talk about results. So at a high level, as I mentioned earlier, we have over 217 million customer notes stored in Couchbase. We see a consistent trend of new notes added every single day with a little bit less on the weekends. We see 500,000 notes saved daily, over 3.5 million searches daily. So, it's great for us to see a good deal of searching because we know that our technicians can better prepare for customer interactions, and our sales and support teams can react faster to a customer's need. Another piece of really, really good news that makes us proud for what we've been able to develop with Couchbase is that we have over 100,000 end users across Comcast using our application. So when we talked about building an application that would help transform Comcast and improve the customer experience, we had an opportunity to really impact the day-to-day work for over 100,000 Comcast team members. The other good piece of news is that 90% of all Comcast customer accounts now have unified notes on those accounts that are stored in Couchbase. So this platform gives us an operational view as well as a broad view of all of our customers. And no job is done until you get some true feedback. So we've reached out and we've gotten a lot of very positive feedback. We've gotten a lot of new enhancement requests, and that shows that we're doing a good job in meeting everybody's needs. The first comment here that you see on the slide is a testimonial from our Vice President of Comcast Customer Tools, and she's obviously very happy. And then the second comment is a recent one that we got based on our location notes feature and how it is helping our teammates in the field. So as you have seen, it's been a solid journey for us partnering with Couchbase to help transform the Comcast customer experience. Our feedback has been extremely positive. We continue to fine-tune the application to meet our customers' needs and to keep the positive momentum, moving forward. So I want to thank everybody, for your time, and now I'll switch control back to Chris.
Yeah, thank you so much. Really appreciate it, guys. Great presentation. We do have some questions here in the Q&A for you all. So I'll give you a second to kind of catch your breath before we get started here. So just a reminder, if you haven't already submitted your question, please feel free to do so at this time. You can use the Ask a Question box, which appears on the left-hand side of your screen. Let's see. First question here, Scott. What features pushed Comcast to use Enterprise Edition versus the Community Edition of Couchbase?
Hi, my name is Darren. I'm working under Scott. I'm with the Infinite team. I can take this question. The major advantage for us to going to use the Enterprise Edition is the MOIs, the memory optimized indexes, which is very widely used for the account number searches to retrieve the notes from the unified notes Couchbase. So that's available exclusively in Enterprise Edition. So that's one of the highly used features, and there are several security-related aspects of Enterprise Edition which are not available in Community. So that's one of them.
Yeah. Thank you, Darren.
Let's see. We've got a question here. Somebody says 3.5 million searches per day means around 40 transactions per second. Is this expected to go up?
Yes, absolutely. We have new consumers onboarding to Unified Notes, Of late, we are expecting the saves to go up by 200K per day, which means even the retrievals will also go up, and we are prepared for this growth.
Yeah, and just to add to that, because of the success of Unified Notes and the positive impact across Comcast, as you can see, the team is now being requested to build out other features that will be, based on Unified Notes. So we'll see Unified Notes continue to grow, but as we build additional features on top of that and additional what I would call services on top of that, we'll see that growth continue. So again, one of the reasons we chose Couchbase because we anticipated high growth and because we did such a good job meeting the business needs. More business needs are coming our way.
Excellent, thank you. Got a question here. Is the Unified Notes platform a query-only application, or can users enter notes directly in the platform?
Unified Notes platform, as such, it's a save and search, but there are major applications like Einstein, which Scott has shown in one of the demos or decks. Is using the Couchbase or Unified Notes platform to save and retrieve notes.
Yeah, we also generate notes, during certain events when they occur for, a customer. So, there's notes that you can enter in directly if you're a technician or a service representative, but then there's also notes that are generated. So that way, again, when you can go in there, you can get the broad view of the customer, no matter who entered the note, where they entered the note, everything is in there.
Excuse me, we've got a question here. What are the benefits of having no schema? Or schemas, excuse me.
Yeah, it's primarily going back to a relational or a NoSQL world. So all the benefits of using a schema-less database would apply when we use Couchbase without any schemas. So we don't need to worry about any of the constraints or any issues that would come up with a relational database. And the time to market is a major advantage of having a schema-less database. So all the changes can be rapidly moved to production, and our consumers can get benefit with the new features.
Yeah, a lot of the stuff that we have too with the new schema is the fact that you don't need code changes. We do very quick database changes, like Darren has said, and so we could have anything in production in minutes after a consumer has asked for those changes.
And this is Allie from Couchbase. I'll add a little bit more to that. Just from our perspective, why we're seeing our customers move from relational systems to non-relational NoSQL systems is, to what everybody's been talking about, this idea of storing semi-structured or unstructured data and storing different types of data from different sources is a really hard problem to solve for in relational systems, and non-relational no schema gives you the flexibility to do just that, among many other things, performance, more customers going online, scaling to support those customers, all a bunch of great benefits of moving to a non-relational system.
Thank you so much, guys. We've got a question here. Somebody was curious, how many servers do you have in each cluster, and then parentheses per DC?
We have 9 nodes per cluster, and we have 3 clusters in 3 different geographical data centers. So we have the cross data center replication across the data center. So yeah, we are always on, always available.
Yeah, and 2 of those clusters are always active, and then the other one we use for backup.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Let's see here. We've got another question. How quickly are the notes replicated across the system? Is it near real time?
Yes, it is. Yep.
Has to be. That was a key requirement that we had and that our users really stressed when we were designing this out. And again, that was something that we spent a lot of time on, especially when the team went through the upgrade. We redesigned sort of the architecture somewhat, and then, but at this point in time, we don't have any problems. We have the monitoring, as I mentioned earlier, to make sure that, everything is replicated and we're not losing anything, but the speed has been definitely acceptable.
All right, thank you so much. We've got a question here. I think several people were curious. Why do you use version 4.6 when 5.5 GA is available, where end of life is for 4.6 is 2008? A couple of people were curious about that. Why are you all going about it that way?
We have been highly stable with 4.6 since we deployed it last year, and there are plans for upgrading it to the latest version. And it's only a couple of months where the 5.5 GA is released, so we are analyzing on upgrading our Couchbase to the latest.
Yeah, and another, we definitely are on the upgrade path, and one thing that we wanted to do, since, again, this was so widely accepted and grew so fast, that once we got to 4.6.3, we decided that it was best for us to stay, just stay on that version and then get this tool out to as wide an audience as possible in Comcast. So we really focused on, deployment and onboarding the user base. So, and that was the right move for the business because the tool, is so effective in helping them. So, but now as we plan out our growth going into next year, the upgrades have to be on our plate.
Excellent, thank you. Question here: isn't the cost the main advantage of a NoSQL database in cloud versus Rational DB? Thoughts?
Yeah, cost is always a factor in any technology decision that we make. We load balance that with, the feature function that we need to provide and availability and things like that. So it's definitely, a factor. I would say it's one of the factors that we had on the table.
Question here for you: have you seen this solution translate into improved customer experience at all?
Yes, we have. Actually, I think I, used a example in a prior discussion on this. I measure the success of what I do here at Comcast, based on my own mother, who's a Comcast user. And so we actually sat with her the other day, and she called into Comcast to, order an upgrade and, ask some questions. And she was a partial Comcast user just for internet. And so I sat there with her quietly and watched her, go through the process, and it was a good experience for her. And we have gotten very positive feedback from the folks on the front lines. There's 100,000 people that are using this every day. I've seen them personally where instead of, them having to go through 15, 20 mouse clicks to find information to ferret it out, it's a couple clicks away and they have everything they need. So we absolutely have seen it, and we have good information from the front lines.
Yeah. Just to add that too, right now our technicians, only about 28% of our technicians is using Unified Notes. And in this November, 100% of those technicians would be moving using Unified Notes.
Excellent, thank you. Let's see, we've got another question here. Let's see, we've got, you may have said this already, but could you expand a little bit? What about security?
So what we have done is, with all of our solutions here at Comcast, we go through security threat model workshops. We go through, the penetration testing. So we have really moved security to the left in the cycle, or to more in the beginning of the cycle. It's not an afterthought. So we have brought in all the security experts to review the solution, to make sure that, everything that we use, all the tools, the DevOps environment that I showed you, all the tools, how we're set up, how our networks are set up, that everything is highly secure So we have not run into, any issues or remediation needs, related to Couchbase.
Yeah, to add to that, from a Couchbase standpoint, we are implementing the data at rest and data in transit encryptions, which are already in place in some portions of the application, which we will be extending it to the entire stack.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Question here. This audience member is asking, are you running Couchbase containerized?
Not right now. We are running it on a physical service and VMs. It's a mixed architecture currently.
We've got a question here. Brian says, do you do any entity resolution to ensure a single view of a customer record?
Yeah, so I think that's tied into really at the Comcast level. Obviously, from a customer notes perspective, there is a single view into all the customer notes, and that you get that through the Unified Notes platform. For an entire customer experience, they are all centralized within that Einstein 360 tool that I had referred to in the presentation. So within that tool, you can see the entire customer view.
We've got a question here. It's a long one, so I'll read it. You can also look at it in the Q&A section there if you want to, guys, because it's a long one, but it's a good one. A few years ago, this person says, I watched a Comcast technical presentation on using REST and hypermedia. This kind of implementation relies heavily on JSON representations. Is your usage of Couchbase being used to facilitate REST APIs?
Yes, our Unified Notes application basically is using REST APIs for our consumers to save and retrieve notes, and all of the notes are being saved as a JSON format as of today.
Were there any disadvantages you guys saw using the relational platform rather than Couchbase?
Yes, it's again tied to one of the slides that Scott has showed, why we had to choose a NoSQL and why we had to choose Couchbase particularly. It was followed by a lot of POC done not only just by our team, but across other teams in Comcast. And we had to choose Couchbase due to the benefits that it has to offer.
Yeah, and it's again, related to some of the flexibility and speed to market. We knew the growth that we were going to be going under, and some of the use cases really lend itself better to a NoSQL solution. So we have, other services that we have on our teams that we provide. We do have relational databases, and they work fantastic for, some of the transaction-based systems that we have. So again, I think it's taking a look at the requirements and then making the right decision.
And we've got a question here. Can you solve a use case which involves building a parent-child relationship using Couchbase?
Yeah, that's a good question. Yes, of course. We have a use case where we had to look up a major minor account related nodes, and without any foreign key relationships that is normally not available in a non-relational database, we achieved it by using or denormalizing the data and storing major minor accounts in the same nodes and looking up the nodes for a minor account, which is actually related to a major account. So we are solving the problem of the foreign key relationship by having denormalized data.
Let's see, we've got a question here. How did you end up choosing Couchbase and not some other relational DB like MS SQL?
Yeah, so when we did the proof of concept, we used, again, I think we made an early decision based on anticipating what the requirements are going to be and the growth and some of the flexibility needed. So then we definitely chose a NoSQL solution. As I mentioned, we do have some relational databases in here, so we have the expertise to know the strengths, and the use cases that the relational database is best for. So, and then we pitted Couchbase against some other NoSQL vendors, and again ran a lot of things side by side. And as I mentioned, it was Couchbase was being used at Comcast, and it met our needs and a proof of concept. So that's why we ended up with that decision.
To add to that, with Couchbase, one of the key features that comes out of the box is the HA and the XDCR, where we can maintain the cross data center replication without having to undergo several complexities in setting it up by using a relational database like Oracle or MS SQL for that matter. And it's always on, and entire data is in memory, so it's very faster compared to the other databases, which is what our customers needed to have a higher performance when retrieving and saving notes.
Excellent. And we've got another question. Are you using N1QL, and if so, how?
Yes. Yeah. I mean, Nickel is our predominant use case for searching notes by account number. We have 250,000 notes right now, and our response times have been it's less than 80 milliseconds for each search for our consumers. So Nickel, in addition with the MOIs, is delivering results for our consumers.
Well, all right. Well, thank you guys so much for answering all the questions that we got from the audience, and thank you for your presentations as well. Really appreciate you joining us for today. So thank you guys so much for your presentations. Everybody in the audience, thank you so much for your time today. Thanks for giving us an hour of your day. We really appreciate it. Don't forget to please share the replay link with people you know. If you think they'd get a kick out of the topic for today, please feel free to share it with them. And don't forget, we'll send you an email with all sorts of resources and stuff following this webcast as well, so that way you could have sorts of things to take away and show your employers or your bosses and things like that. But yeah, thank you all for attending today's program. We hope you have a great rest of your day. Today's webcast was sponsored by Couchbase and brought to you by ADTmag.com. Thanks everybody for attending. Have a great rest of your day.